In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Good evening, friends, and welcome to the 25th episode of Crime and Punishment, a legal podcast, not a political one. This is the official podcast of the Invictus Law Firm, PA, a criminal defense law firm in Orlando, Florida, the city beautiful. The website for this law firm is augustusinvictus.com, and that is me, yours truly, your host for the evening, and I'm here with my trusty co-host, Tiger Gin. Tonight we will be discussing, well, some totally non-political things that happen to be in the news, beginning with the withdrawal, of American troops from Afghanistan. But first, let's point out that Dr. Ostify News has started us off with the word arete. And I appreciate that because that is the Greek word for excellence. It should be your aim in all things. And that's actually something I take personally, daily. Dr. Ostify, I'm glad you pointed out that word arete. We don't share it enough on this program or anywhere really. So thank you for that. So Tiger Gin, I hope you are there. I hope this is working.
Yes.
All right, let's test out these levels, make sure everybody can hear both of us. All right, so let's, first of all, I had a bunch of articles that I've been posting all week. The ABA Journal posted that the country is divided. This is the headline. Country is divided and lawyers can lead toward progress, says ABA president-elect. The ABA is the American Bar Association, so it's like the bar association for lawyers nationally in America. And I obviously agree. Lawyers can definitely lead toward progress. And we're here, Huckleberry. So we've got fun articles like that. We've got fun articles like Reuters did a special report on cops shooting everybody and getting away with it. And actually, they pointed out that both Sotomayor and Justice Thomas, left and right on the U.S. Supreme Court, everybody agrees that the reason that cops are out of control in this country is because the courts are engendering it. The courts set these doctrines. The courts let other judges throw out cases, lawsuits against the police. The courts are the ones who are allowing cops to run buck wild. That's an interesting article. Unfortunately, we can't talk about it tonight, it looks like, because we've got so much fun stuff to talk about.
Yes.
Like this. Taliban in control in Afghanistan after seizing presidential palace in Kabul. How did that happen? So
I wish I knew. I mean, if I wasn't going through what I'm going through now, I mean, I would have been on top of this news.
Well, it happened in a whirlwind fashion. I mean, it just came out of nowhere. They started reporting on it last week, and next thing you know, the Taliban's taken over the entire country. And I think clearly what happened is that the government in Afghanistan did not take COVID as seriously as we did. So they were not wearing their masks. And this is what happens, because in every picture you see of the Taliban soldiers, they are all mask conscious. Every single one of them. Clearly, that is the winning strategy. But in all seriousness, Taliban, with it, just boom, lickety split, like within a week.
What surprises me is that I thought they were gone. Like, I remember seeing those maps during the Trump administration, like ISIS is 99% defeated. I guess Taliban's something totally different. I don't know.
Yeah, Taliban's a completely different group. ISIS is I don't know. The propaganda is sometimes inconsistent, but
that's the other thing. Sometimes you don't know what to believe about this stuff. But
almost like the government has an interest in lying to us about what's going on overseas, where they're spending trillions of dollars to fight these wars that no one cares about.
Yeah.
So this one, in any event, is over. Afghanistan, that war is done. And immediately Taliban took over the country in the blink of an eye. Now, what's amazing is today, and I wanted to download this video, but there just wasn't the time. Actually, we can try this. We've figured out that the audio works when we play the audio. Let's get to that. Because he came out defending his decision. So let's fast forward to the. Here we go. All right. Yeah. All right. He says good afternoon. Hold on. Here we go. All right. Swagging up to the podium.
Good afternoon. I want to speak today to the unfolding situation in Afghanistan, the developments that have taken place in the last week, and the steps we're taking to address the rapidly evolving events. My national security team and I have been closely monitoring the situation on the ground in Afghanistan and moving quickly to execute the plans we had put in place to respond to every constituency, including and contingency, including the rapid collapse we're seeing now. I'll speak more in a moment about the specific steps we're taking, but I want to remind everyone how we got here and what America's interests are in Afghanistan. We went to Afghanistan almost 20 years ago with clear goals. Get those who attacked us on September 11, 2001, and make sure al-Qaeda could not use Afghanistan as a base from which to attack us again. We did that. We severely degraded al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. We never gave up the hunt for Osama bin Laden, and we got him. That was a decade ago. Our mission in Afghanistan was never supposed to have been nation building. It was never supposed to be creating a unified, centralized democracy. Our only vital national interest in Afghanistan remains today what it has always been: preventing a terrorist attack on America's homeland. I've argued for many years that our mission should be narrowly focused on counterterrorism, not counterinsurgency or nation building. That's why I opposed the surge when it was proposed in 2009 when I was vice president. And that's why, as president, I'm adamant that we focus on the threats we face today in 2021, not yesterday's threats.
And that is where you come to understand what it's all about, right? He then goes into talking about, well, we're in Somalia, we're in this country, we're in that country, and there are these terrorist threats, but we don't have a permanent presence in any of those countries. So why do we have a permanent presence in Afghanistan? And then he does the most amazing thing. He starts attacking the Afghans. He says, well, why should we be there when they don't care enough to fight for themselves? Yeah, they're not doing it, so we need to get out of there. And then he starts slamming the Afghans. It's incredible. It's like, I'm leaving, and a bunch of people are going to die. And I know it's terrible, and everybody's going to disagree with me, but, it's their fault, really. It's amazing how he does it, but it glosses over what this is really about, and I'm going to predict this. So let's hope it doesn't come true, because if it does, I won't even get to gloat about it. But my prediction is, and my reasoning is, there is no reason to discontinue a war in which you have been invested for 20 years. Just willy-nilly. Biden is clearly not just his own man with ideas. He's not a visionary. He's clearly a puppet of some special interests. And I say that with no animosity whatsoever, because we on Crime and Punishment take no political stance in any of this. We are only here to read the news and to discuss our legal commentary thereupon. Clearly not a man of vision. Biden is obviously a puppet for special interests. So why is it that these globalists who have been pushing the Afghanistan war and maintaining this presence in Afghanistan for 20 years, why would they now all of a sudden want to shut it down? Well, first of all, nothing happens all of a sudden. The powers that be don't just decide one day on a whim, you know what, we've been there long enough. Time to bring them home. This is calculated. My prediction is this, and it's something we talked about on this program many times over the past several months, how they started this war on terror. They started attacking all the Muslims after 9/11, said we need the Patriot Act to fight terrorism. We need to do this, that, and the other to stop all these evil Muslims. And then immediately, upon passing these laws and taking all these measures, immediately they turned it on so-called white supremacists. And for the past 20 years, they've been using all of these terrorism tools that were supposed to be fighting our foreign enemies, using all of these counterterrorism tools to fight white supremacy. My prediction is that you don't just stop a war willy-nilly. You withdraw those troops because you're going to put them somewhere else. And my prediction is that they're going to be put here. My prediction is that all of this police action we've been doing, all of this training that we've been doing for, policing the Afghanis, and no, it's not a military operation, it's a police action, as Obama famously said. And by the way, Joe Biden was his vice president. They were on the same team. Well, all of that counterterrorism policing is about to be brought home. And I have always said that this situation in Afghanistan has been for exactly that. And that's what I see happening. It's all coming back to us now.
Well, something to think about, too, is that America is not defeated. We're still here. We're still around. The thing is, that's an operation on the other side of the globe. The United States is like a giant aircraft carrier. As long as we're fine on the continent, we can keep fighting a war as long as we want to. Even if we were suddenly overrun, the forces in Afghanistan were suddenly overrun by Taliban and all that, and every last American soldier was killed and eliminated from there. As long as we got some on the continent, just keep flying them over. That's why these were forever wars, because we're so separated from it. So long as the United States doesn't get nuked, just keep sending equipment and bodies over and keep fighting as long as we want. It doesn't matter what goes on there.
That reminds me of that, a part in that book, our favorite book on this program, 1984, when he talks about fighting whatever it is, whoever it is. I forget who the enemy is anymore, right? He's like, we're fighting these people, or maybe it was the other people, I don't know. Whoever we're fighting now, we've been fighting them forever. That's kind of how it is now. Well, yeah, we've been fighting Afghanistan, but 5 years from now, it will be, we have always been fighting white supremacist terrorists here in the United States. They have always been a problem since at least the 1990s, and et cetera, et cetera. It's just, they are changing the arena, but it is the same forever war. So, good point, Tiger. My, I won't say favorite part, but perhaps the most just shake your head part is this. So Twitter, as you know, they post these events or moments or whatever you want to call them in the hashtag section, the explore section. So one of these was Taliban's taken over the country. Another is Biden defends his position on taking them taking the troops out of the country. But this one is, I'm scared I'll be killed. That's a quote. Afghanistan's female soldiers fear for their lives. Women who joined the Afghan National Army amid a Western-backed campaign now fear the Taliban will kill or rape them for being soldiers. Duh. That, like, what did you expect? You sign up to be a soldier, you die. That is what soldiers do. They kill or they die. And this is actually a headline from the Telegraph. It's an event on Twitter. Afghanistan's female soldiers fear for their lives. That is an actual headline. That is how insane this world has become. well, we can't do this. Soldiers might die.
Yeah.
We can't withdraw from a war. Female soldiers might die. So that is the latest in this dystopian fantasy we are living in right now. So,
By the way, do you know if we're also withdrawn from Iraq and Kuwait?
nah, it's not in the headlines.
Yeah.
So I imagine we're still there.
Yeah, I think essentially what's the difference?
I mean, who knows?
We're still over there.
Yeah, maybe the point is that they're not bringing them home. They're going to reposition them to finally invade Iran. Who knows?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we're still holding bases and holding ground in Iraq, maybe the game plan is to go into Iran. I don't know. I still think it's to come here, but you're right. If they haven't announced the withdrawal from Iraq, we are still there.
Because one of the things, one of the many, many, many reasons why we're over there is the geopolitical positioning. It was always said by strategists that the Middle East is like taking control of the center of the chessboard. Like that's the power position, and from there you can move out to just about anywhere else on the board.
Right.
That's so. To me, I just can't see the United States willingly giving up that kind of territory without something else in mind.
Yeah, that's why so much of this political talk is just garbage. It's just nonsense. It's just propaganda. Just to stir people up. Because you think about Hawaii, right? And people are upset about American imperial... Well, maybe not anymore. Everybody loves having Hawaii as part of America now. Especially because of Obama. But some people still get touchy, usually native Hawaiians, about the fact that America is an imperialist power and we have no business being in Hawaii. But do you really think they're going to give up Hawaii? And it's not just because it's a, top travel destination. It's geopolitics. We have such a far reach into the Pacific. We have such a forward base toward Asia. We will never give up Hawaii. That would be insane. Just like Alaska. It was considered a folly, and oh, look at all the oil, what a nice surprise. But geopolitically, Alaska is absolutely crucial. All of these places that we have that people are like, whoa, why do we need to spend American money on that? Why do we need to send our troops out there? We need to send our troops out there and hold this territory because this is a world war at all times. So, if we're in Iraq, it's for a reason. If we are in Afghanistan, it's for a reason, and not the reason they're talking about on the news, but for actual reasons. And so if they are withdrawing troops from Afghanistan, it's for a reason. It's not, well, I just thought this was the right thing to do for the American people. No one wants to be there. And no one wanted to be there 20 years ago either. That has absolutely nothing to do with it. We'll find out soon, though.
And one of the other important things about the strategic positioning of Afghanistan is that if you look at the borders of it, the map of it, it's got this essentially a road running straight into China.
Right.
That's
right.
One of the big reasons why we wanted
that's why
be in Afghanistan.
Alexander the Great wanted it. That's why Genghis Khan wanted it. That's why the Soviet Union wanted it. No one's been able to hold it. That's never been the point.
Yeah.
So I want to give some further evidence on my own prediction about why this is about to be targeted toward us here at home. And this is an article from Reuters. Tiger, did I send you this one about Facebook and tech giants to target attacker manifestos, far-right militias, and database? Did you see that one?
Let me see. Yes.
Okay.
There it is. I'll load up here.
Okay, so I accidentally just clicked on a Major League Baseball article, so let me back up there. All right, so this is from Reuters. We're actually a little late on this. This is from the end of July, but it's titled Facebook and tech giants to target attacker manifestos, far-right militias in database.
And the first top picture is of a 3%er.
Of course.
Oh, the dangerous far right.
Super
like
dangerous.
I remember those guys back in like the I feel like, what was it? I mean, they were around during the Obama years, and it was just like, oh, we're the like, or maybe I'm confusing with the Oath Keepers, but still, I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's not like they're literally love Hitler or anything like that. They're just right-wingers.
You didn't scroll to the next picture. The next picture over is of the Proud Boys.
Oh my.
They, of course, do love Hitler. Not that we care. You know, we have no political stake in the matter. We're just talking about the legal news. But obviously the Proud Boys love Hitler. So, who's next on there? Another 3%er, it looks like.
Yep.
I've just posted the link into the chat so y'all can see these pictures, these dangerous militiamen. And then Facebook logo. That
says 3%ers again, provide security for a Patriot Day Second Amendment rally.
Yeah, this guy's in Charlottesville. You know that's evil. All right, so a counterterrorism organization, this is the kicker. Formed by some of the biggest U.S. tech companies, including Facebook and Microsoft, is significantly expanding the types of extremist content shared between firms in a key database, aiming to crack down on material from white supremacists and far-right militias, the group told Reuters. So this is not a database being compiled by the FBI, local law enforcement, Interpol, all these intelligence agencies that gather information and share information to stop terrorist attacks. No. This is extremist content. This is information about propaganda being gathered by big tech for a private counterterrorism database. If you don't think that is nefarious, let's read on. Until now, the Global Internet Forum to Counter Terrorism's database, now Global Internet Forum to Counter Terrorism is GIFCT, the GIFCT database has focused on videos and images, until now, from terrorist groups on a United Nations list, and so has largely consisted of content from Islamist extremist organizations such as Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, and the Taliban. Over the next few months, the group will add attacker manifestos, often shared by sympathizers after white supremacist violence, and other publications and links flagged by UN initiative Tech Against Terrorism. It will use lists from intelligence sharing group Five Eyes, adding URLs and PDFs from more groups, including the Proud Boys, the 3%ers, and neo-Nazis. The firms, which include Twitter and Alphabet, YouTube, share hashes, unique numerical representations of original pieces of content that have been removed from their services. Other platforms use these to identify the same content on their own sites in order to review or remove it. So, Twitter, Alphabet, which is Google, YouTube, they have the hashtags and they share these things that they have removed. So, they are literally telling you these tech giants are all collaborating. They are all cooperating together to crush and wipe out all of this unwanted content from their sites. They're colluding. That's the word I'm looking for. So it is an actual conspiracy. They are actually conspiring to rid their sites, all of them, of the same content. That's not a conspiracy theory. They have said this to Reuters. This is what they are actively doing. While the project reduces the amount of extremist content on mainstream platforms, groups can still post violent images and rhetoric on many other sites and parts of the internet. The tech group wants to combat a wider range of threats, said GIFCT's executive director Nicholas Rasmussen in an interview with Reuters. Quote, anyone looking at the terrorism or extremism landscape has to appreciate that there are other parts that are demanding attention right now, end quote, Rasmussen said, citing the threats of far-right or racially motivated violent extremism. The tech platforms have long been criticized for failing to police violent extremist content, though they also face concerns over censorship. The issue of domestic extremism, including white supremacy and militia groups, took on renewed urgency following the deadly January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. Now, we at Crime and Punishment take no political stance in any of this, and what I appreciate is that Reuters doesn't take any political stance either.
Yeah.
Just totally unbiased to the renewed urgency following the deadly January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. That's not loaded language at all. Totally factual.
Well, it was deadly for at least one woman.
Yeah, who was shot by the government. 14 companies can access the GIFCT database. And I love this part because I love hearing people say Snapchat is private because the messages get wiped. 14 companies can access the GIFCT database, including Reddit, Snapchat owner Snap, Facebook-owned Instagram, Verizon Media, Microsoft's LinkedIn, and file-sharing service Dropbox. So Dropbox, which a bunch of lawyers use to upload their files to, I don't, so don't worry about that. Verizon is a phone company. They're sharing your information on there. Snap, which you think is deleting all your messages, but they're not. And I've had a lot of people try to message me on Facebook for their legal cases, and the first thing I say is, look, dude, stop writing me on Facebook. Stop right now. Write this email address and tell me about your case in email, or let's set up a phone conference on a secured line, but definitely do not talk about your case on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, any of these places, because you do not have a reasonable expectation of privacy. And that's really the thing for an attorney-client privilege to attach, or any kind of privilege. You have to have the expectation that what you are saying is private. So if you are at, Smoky Bones with your attorney, Smoky Bones still exist? Do they shut that down?
I never even heard of it, so I guess not.
Okay, well, if you're at Red Lobster with your attorney and you are talking at a casual level, about your tax fraud and all the ways you've evaded the IRS, well, you don't really have a reasonable expectation of privacy. There are waiters coming by, there are people in the other booths, food runners, the hostess, little kids running by. Everybody can hear your business, so you don't do that, right? Likewise, if you're on Facebook and you are writing someone in the messaging app, you do not have a reasonable expectation of privacy. Just look at the Discord disaster back in 2017 after Charlottesville, right? And everybody kept telling him, don't use Discord. Don't do that for anything you want to be private, because it won't remain private. And now all of those messages are all over the internet, have been for years. So if you got a legal case, don't talk about it on social media. That's always been the case. I've told people that for years. But now, 14 companies, including all those ones we're talking about, they are all able to access this GIFCT database where they are logging all of your information, all of your memes, all of the PDFs you share. They're logging it into a counterterrorism database because they are targeting militia members, militia sympathizers even, white supremacists, and the whole, the usual characters. GIFCT, which is now an independent organization, was created in 2017 under pressure from US and European governments after a series of deadly attacks in Paris and Brussels. Well, isn't that always the story? Muslims blow things up. Muslims take down the Twin Towers. Muslims do this, that, and the other. And my God, we've got to pass all of these laws right now. We've got to give the police their police state powers. We've got to pass all these laws that will allow the FBI to look at your library books. Everything. Everything you can think of. We've got to pass all these laws immediately. And then immediately they turn around and they use it against their own citizens. We've got to do this, that, and the other because we've got to fight all these foreign terrorists. And then immediately, they're domestic terrorists too. There's a homegrown threat that's far more sinister and insidious because it's growing in our backyards. Thank God we passed all these great laws right after all the Muslims blew up all this stuff in Paris and Brussels. Its database mostly contains digital fingerprints of videos and images related to groups on the UN Security Council's consolidated sanctions list and a few specific live-streamed attacks, such as the 2019 mosque shootings in Christchurch, New Zealand. Now, look, man, if they were focusing on things like that, like a mass shooting at mosques by a white guy, okay. I don't think you can get around the fact that that is an actual crime, an actual terrorist attack, deliberately intended to be so. Like the guy videotaped himself doing it. Just like Al-Qaeda, taking credit for terrorist attacks. Yeah, that falls in that category. Absolutely. But that's not what they're talking about, is it? The GIFCT is to share your Hitler memes. It's to make sure that you're not committing any thought crimes. It's to make sure that all of that Savitri Devi and Julius Evola stuff is wiped off the internet, because that's dangerous. Because you start reading Ride the Tiger, next thing you know, you're shooting up a mosque. So that's what this database is about. GIFCT has faced criticism and concerns from some human and digital rights groups over centralized or overbroad censorship. Quote, overachievement in this takes you in the direction of violating someone's rights on the internet to engage in free expression, end quote, said Rasmussen. Emma Janzo, director of the Free Expression at the Center for Democracy and Technology, that's a title. Free Expression at the... Oh, I'm sorry, she's the director of Free Expression. That's her job title. What a wild job title. The place where she works as Director of Free Expression is the Center for Democracy and Technology. I get it. Anyway, that woman said in a statement, quote, the expansion of the GIFCT hash database only intensifies the need for GIFCT to improve the transparency and accountability of these content blocking resources, end quote. As the database expands, she added, the risks of mistaken takedown only increase. That's interesting. Mistaken takedown. This is the doublespeak, like when you give the CEO of YouTube a free speech award. What did she win? Like the Nobel Prize for protecting free speech or some
I haven't
farcical.
heard.
Oh yeah. Yeah. God bless her. Thank you, YouTube, for providing for all of this free speech we enjoy in America. So, this Center for Democracy and Technology, she's the director of Free Expression, right? And her concern is not, well, let's hold on there. You might not like these Savitri Devi and Hitler memes, but, this is America or Europe or wherever these people are. And we've got, history. We got a long-standing tradition of freedom of speech. No, her concern is, well, you could mistakenly take down the wrong things. As the database expands, the risks of mistaken takedown only increase. So she's not against taking down the things that they don't like. She's just concerned that you might take down additional things that shouldn't be taken down. The group wants to continue to broaden its database to include hashes of audio files or certain symbols and grow its membership. Yeah, so when I was in jail, I had a friend who sent me a picture of Shiva. With
All right.
the Om symbol, the swastika, right? Banned. You cannot have that picture of Shiva at the jail because obviously the swastika is a gang symbol. That's how these people, the group wants to continue to broaden its database to include hashes of audio files or certain symbols and grow its membership. So obviously not just swastikas, but the black sun, Thor's hammer. Who knows? Who knows what symbols they want to get rid of? I mean, the ADL has a massive list of symbols that should never see the light of day.
Yeah, I've heard of, it was somewhere in Europe. It wasn't in the U.S., but I guess it was their government or something. Anyway, looking to ban runic symbols.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's an ancient language. Like let's ban this ancient language. I mean, ban Latin too.
Well, we should. I mean, when it comes to the runes, dangerous white supremacist neo-Nazis use those. That's just you're asking for it, allowing these runes to exist. But think of Latin. Latin is the quintessential terroristic language. Why is it
You're going to have to explain that. How is that?
Well, this is how. At the New York Times, over the weekend, I think it was Friday actually. Maybe not, maybe it was Thursday, I don't know. Last week, or over the weekend, New York Times published an op-ed by a Latin mass scholar. In fact, we're going to go to that.
Yeah.
Because I want to say the guy's name. I want to give him credit for this. But he published this op-ed, and it's like he's saying Michael Brendan Doherty. That's his name. So if you go to my Twitter, it's twitter.com/Emperor Invictus. It says, I wrote something in the New York Times about the Latin Mass, and the opinion piece is the church cannot be Catholic without the Latin Mass, right? Which I think is like stating the obvious. Like you can't have planet Earth without water, wind, and fire, right? Like obviously. You would not believe, just go to my Twitter page, Emperor Invictus, scroll down, look at this post by Michael Brendan Doherty, go to his page, and then look at the wall of garbage. All the critics coming out against him. This is horrible. This is the last straw. I can't believe the New York Times would publish something like this. This is hateful. And really the criticism is the Catholic Church, specifically the Catholic Church that was formed around the Latin Mass, because if you don't know, if you're uninitiate in Catholicism, the Latin Mass is Catholicism. The liturgy, the Mass, is the entire religion. Everything else is just, it emanates out of the Latin Mass. So all of these criticisms of this guy making this op-ed, they all come down to the Catholic Church centered around the Latin Mass was imperialist. This is how white supremacy took over the world. This is how these evil white people took over all these countries and oppressed the entire world. So that is why Latin, though you joke about it, Tiger, Latin really is the quintessential white supremacist terrorist language, and it must be rid of.
Easy. I have never heard that, but yeah, I guess there is an attack on Latin. I mean, certainly with the order that came down, if nothing else. But
Joshua is saying it's just that kind of talk that makes me want to drive 30 minutes every Sunday to hear the Tridentine Mass. I actually have to drive 45 minutes. Yeah, exactly. I was complaining about it. I had to drive an hour and a half in exile. It's a long story. But I was with the group of people after Mass one day. I was at it doesn't matter. There were people there. I'm not outing anybody. So I was with this group of people from the church after Mass, and this kid was telling me about these people he knew. They would drive literally 6 hours to go to Latin Mass because they're out in the country. There's no Latin Mass anywhere near them. Every Sunday they would take this trip. I'm like, well, I will never complain about this drive again. And now I've only got to drive 45 minutes. So, ain't no way. Yeah, 30 minutes is nothing, Joshua. You should do it. Oh, Florida Treasures from Azalea Park? Ain't no way. Well, greetings, my friend, from Dr. Phillips. All right, so Tiger, yay. Tiger's here. Going through these comments. Anyway, so that is my argument for why Latin must be banned. Actually, before my arrest, before they cured me, before I was brought to love Big Brother, we were talking about creating an underground educational network.
Oh yes, I remember this.
Yeah, we were recruiting Latin scholars and Greek scholars to create this curriculum, because I genuinely believe that the eradication of Latin and Greek scholarship in our schools, among the elite, in the Catholic Church, and so on and so forth, getting rid of Latin was a completely disorganizing and disorienting, and deliberately intended to be so, throughout all of Western civilization. I think once you get rid of the language, you destroy a civilization, which is what the Celts learned, right? There was the Gaelic revival. The Jews know that. They got rid of Hebrew, and now look, they brought back Hebrew school, and there's been a revival of the Hebrew language since the 20th century. It really, getting rid of the language of a people destroys them. So when they got rid of Latin, they stopped teaching it to the elite. They stopped teaching it in schools. Then they rid the Catholic Church of Latin. Everything else is just a logical consequence. So, dead serious when I say you cannot take Latin seriously enough. And I'm ashamed at how little I know of Greek. Anyway, we got like 10 minutes left. What other articles we want to talk about that are totally apolitical?
We could go into some of the criminal law stuff. It's just a bunch of quick updates.
Yeah, let's do some quick updates. I do want to say, though, let's just revisit this for 1 second.
Sure.
I'm scared I'll be killed. Afghanistan's female soldiers fear for their lives. Let's just soak that in. Afghanistan's female soldiers fear for their lives. They are in the wrong profession. All right, so what are these criminal law updates? Let's hear them.
All right, McCloskey's, they were pardoned by the governor. So
yes,
that's the big.
We
news
actually
there.
talked about that in the last episode. You were not with us.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to one-up you on this one.
All right.
Britney Spears' dad agrees to step down as conservator. Did you know that?
Yes, I have been seeing that news. I mean,
All right.
yeah.
You got me there. All right, what's your update?
Okay, so in the Chauvin trial, there is. I've been trying to pin down who these people are exactly, but they are. It's an attorney organization looking to have the jurors' names made public, and the questionnaires, the prospective juror list, juror profiles, unredacted juror forms. They want all of that to be made public now.
Why?
First correction, it's a coalition of news media outlets that are asked. So it's not attorneys. They have attorneys working for them, but it's apparently the news wanting to do this.
All right, now it's making more sense. But why? Why do they want to publish those names? They want to like make a memorial of them? Like a hero memorial? Like, here's the list of people that did the right thing and took down this cop no matter what the evidence said.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just want to go on a big celebration for these people.
Yeah, right? Make a parade for them. Walker wrote that Chauvin's trial is over, quote, and there is no way that jurors' fears of intimidation, harassment, or violence can unfairly impact their deliberations, end quote. She also wrote that the coalition knows of no threat to any juror or prospective juror, noting that 2 jurors and an alternate have already come forward. So it sounds like their reasoning is, well, they're not going to be intimidated, so why not?
And my first thought is, if they found him not guilty, even now, would they be able to be public?
Well, yeah, would they be? I mean, I guess I don't know. What are they really getting at? Like, what is the point of this?
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd thing, and the only thing I can think is because it's the news, and the news coverage was overwhelmingly positive regarding this. I just feel like they just want to make a celebration, have a whole bunch of op-eds about it, go on book tours.
Yes, that's it. We want to offer you, a book deal if you'll tell us what happened throughout this trial. The final paragraph says, the outcome of future trials, both known and unknown, may well lead to unrest if the public is not satisfied with the verdicts, Walker wrote. And that's interesting because the public was very satisfied with the verdict. All right, the media personalities were all saying, well, the public's not going to like it if he's acquitted. The public's not going to like it if they don't throw the book at him. So it's interesting that their stated reasoning is, well, the public might not be satisfied with the verdicts. And thus, the time to build confidence in the judicial system, the time to learn from the Chauvin jurors, is now. What a strange move. But it's like the withdrawal from Afghanistan. Like, it's not coming out of nowhere. There's a reason for this. What other updates you got, Tiger?
Okay, the other one. All right, so I've been keeping tabs on this Cash Gernon thing going on. Very abysmal. Darren Brown has been indicted on capital murder now, but not only that, but also he's been charged with battery and assault and all that, because apparently on a separate instance of, I think they said it was the same day, he went into another house and tried to kidnap a boy from a 70-year-old man there and beat up the old man. So it's all kinds of messed up. He is going to be undergoing a competency evaluation. His attorneys are saying that he might not even be sane enough to stand trial. So that is what's going on there. Just trying to be quick with all these things. The entire article covers everything in depth on it, but it's still underway. Darren Brown's defense is that he is not the guy on the video footage. We'll see how that goes.
Bold strategy.
Yeah.
And what if he's not? I mean, who knows, man? You can't trust anything on the news.
I mean, I never actually watched the footage, so as far as I know, I mean, like, if it doesn't show his face, it could be somebody.
I mean, if it doesn't show his face, it's in the dark. He has an alibi. It could very well be it's not him. Who knows? Who's to say, man? Till it comes out.
And also, the other thing, where is it? I want to make sure I read it correctly on the update about the boy's dad. Yeah, he's been arrested and placed in a residential rehab program.
Arrested for what?
It does not say, but as I said when this news came out, he was he was dodging a court date. Like they couldn't even find him. That he was essentially on the run from the law. And I never saw anything definite about why that was, what he was guilty of. Well, not guilty. I'm tired.
What he was accused of.
Yeah, what he was accused of.
Huh.
What I hear people saying is that it was a violent act, like a battery or something, assault.
Yeah, well,
So,
if you're in that kind of state of mind, I cannot imagine, man. I cannot imagine. So, I ain't holding it against him.
well, I mean that was before this instance.
That was before this happened to his son.
The reason why he wasn't at home with the kids.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Kids off at a girlfriend's.
I had the timeline completely messed up.
Yeah.
All right, well, it is, we have reached the end of the hour. I'm sorry AM is saying that he thought tonight's show was canceled. That is my fault. We usually do the show at 8 p.m. We had to push it back to 9 tonight because my sons are here, and it's a bedtime thing. It's a long story, but yeah, my fault. There was an earlier comment on here asking, first of all, any updates in regards to you running for office? Yeah, I won't be. I haven't seen you here in a while, Europa, but we here at Crime and Punishment, we have come to love Big Brother. We have no political stance. This is a purely legal podcast where we don't talk about anything political at all, so please don't ban us from YouTube. I won't be running for office. I have a law firm to run, so, stick around. How about the merch? So I do have this link that I'm posting presently. We do have the viral style. It's not the Eagles, but like I said, stick around. We've got lots of fun stuff coming up the rest of the year. EcoFash Matt is saying that August is the most humid month in Florida. Yes, accurate. Camping is insane and pure torture at this time frame. Also accurate if you're camping here in Central Florida at this time of year. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. AM is female. I am bad with interpreting initials, I suppose. So, Tiger, any other updates before we close for the evening?
Yeah, real fast. Nicholas Cruz, his pre-trial hearings are likely not going to be broadcast. His trial's coming up.
That's the Parkland shooting.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
So his attorneys filed a motion, from what I understand, to block the media from his trial.
Yes.
Let me look at that article again. Did they post the motion in there? They don't hyperlink the motion in Court TV, do
No.
they? Yeah. All right. We're going to have to find that.
Just depends.
Yeah, we got to find that because that is essential for everybody anymore.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And speaking of, the other similar news is the same is being said for Kim Potter, the taser policewoman who shot Dante Wright.
Oh, right. Taser. Yeah. Yeah.
Her trial won't be broadcast. The judge overseeing the trial has denied a request to broadcast the proceedings. That she said that the public and media will have ample space to view the trial in the courtroom or in designated overflow rooms, but it will not be broadcast.
Well, lucky her. It's time. Oh, I like that. Minnesota Supreme Court Chief Justice Lori Gildea said it's time to consider whether the current rules barring audio and video coverage of criminal proceedings should be amended. That was about Chauvin's trial. Well, let's look that up. One thing I wanted to say before we do depart, I said in all the social media posts, we're going to talk about the National Terrorism Advisory System Bulletin. So this is the last piece of evidence I'll give tonight about why I think this withdrawal from Afghanistan is about to be turned toward us. This terrorism bulletin was issued on Friday, August 13th. On the 15th, we're hearing about this withdrawal. Taliban is all automatically taken over the country. Today, Biden comes out defending the withdrawal of troops. And meanwhile, this terrorism bulletin comes out on Friday, the 13th, and it's talking about not the Taliban. It's not talking about, it does say 9/11 attacks, Al-Qaeda, etc., but it's talking about racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists. These are the same bulletins that keep coming out about white supremacy and all the rest. So, again, they are signaling to us what they are about to turn on the American people. And I don't know if you've seen it, Tiger, but it's all over Instagram. It's a screenshot of NBC News talking about the new terrorist threats. With 9/11 coming up, all these, right-wing patriots, they are a terrorist threat because they will never forget 9/11. Resistance to the COVID vaccine, that is a potential terrorist threat. What was the other one? It's a really good one. But yeah, all these things that you think of as just right-wing lunacy, they're now being signaled as potential terrorist threats. So between that, the Terrorism Advisory Bulletin, the withdrawal of troops in Afghanistan, and everything else we've discussed tonight, I'm pretty confident something is about to go down. So with that, I want to thank you all for coming this evening. I want to thank you all for being continued supporters of our apolitical, 100% legal podcast. And I want to remind you to stay in school and don't do drugs. Talk to you next week, everybody.